Welcome to the Male Fertility Podcast. It is mailbag time, and as with the last one, I'm joined by Shaun. Hello, buddy.
Hello, mate. Our new double mailbags, double
Double-
bagging.
Oh, yeah, that's one way of putting it, isn't it? So, how are you, mate? Are you well, anyway?
I am good.
Yeah,
You?
yeah, I'm all right. The sun is shining in Yorkshire, so I cannot complain. And the temperature is mild. I'm waiting for the sudden drop where it becomes a bit more Baltic up here, and it does come generally, but we're all good. We're all good.
It's all good.
It's my turn to ask you a question.
Are you asking me? Is this? Am I actually? You could just WhatsApp me.
All right, a question has come in. It is from someone
Okay.
anonymous, though.
I was going to say, mate, we can keep this between ourselves. Is that problem been happening again to you? Is it?
Yeah, the cream's just not working.
Oh, okay. All right. No, okay. It's good to establish this that it's actually from a listener.
Yeah, it is from a listener, and do you know what? It is. I think it's a deeply personal question, and I understand why it's been anonymous. So I really hope that they get to hear the answer. It's something that I think a lot of us, even if it's not this specific issue, a lot of us feel these feelings during diagnosis. So here we go. Since being diagnosed with azoospermia, I've really struggled with who I am as a man. It's completely not my confidence and made me feel like I'm failing my partner. How do I start to rebuild my sense of self-worth and feel like me again?
Wow, that's a big one. Yeah, I hear you, mate. Whoever has sent that in, thank you. And I do hear you. I went through that, as I'm sure, like he's got azoospermia. I had azoospermia, but I imagine you probably struggle with sense of self and that self-worth as well, Ciaran.
And it's why I kind of, I said before putting the question out there in terms of it's something that I think we all suffer with. Like I definitely did. Like if I always ask myself, I got stuck on this thing of if I can't give my wife what I'm meant to. I was hung on the fact that as a man, I've got to be able to bear children. I've got to have children. I've got to be able to somehow pass on. The next generation needs to exist. And if I can't do that, what is my worth? And it's something that sent me down, as we know, and I've discussed in length on here, quite a deep, dark hole. So
Yeah,
it's such an important topic, and something
yeah,
that I think we can brush over maybe in this mailbag, but ultimately it may need a longer and deeper discussion. But yeah, I
yeah.
thought
Well, I think it has been a theme throughout. Certainly, the first episodes we did on the first series with us two, and then the ones when we had other lads guest on who have experienced fertility issues as well. It's definitely there's always going to be undertones of this anyway, if not spoken about openly. But because it does that self-worth piece comes down to that identity of who we are as a man, something which does get challenged, but something that I think we have definitely covered at length about kind of coming through the other side of that. And I realised because I was massively questioning who I was as a man and what value and worth did I have as a man when I got diagnosed. And like when I say this, when I'm talking about how I started to figure out and coming out the other side of it, this doesn't mean that I just thought of it like the next day or whatever. It's just something that took a long time to figure out. Part of the reason for that is part of the reason why we're doing this now, because I didn't have this to give me clues or pointers or anything like that. I was having to figure this out the slow way and the long way on my own, the painful way. And that's what I hope that by doing this, we can start to give people just some things like little bits of food for thought as to what helped us navigate it. But I realised that I was having to deconstruct a lot of things that had previously built what I thought was my self-worth. And There, wrapped up in that was a lot of blame, apportioning a lot of blame to myself for having this condition, and then as a result, putting my wife through that as well. And quite frankly, that's unfair. It was unfair on myself. It's not a healthy way of approaching something that's ultimately out of my control, and it's hard to get over that. What has made up our self-worth up until the point where something rocks our foundations is often society, our upbringing from our parents, social media, our friends. There's a lot of things like pouring into that internal kind of sense of self, and sometimes we have to realize, and it's only by standing back, and I'm so grateful that this chap has written in, because that's often where it does get addressed, is when you actually take a little step back and go, well, what actually can I do about this, and start to reevaluate. And that's where I've referred to it before as I had to like peel back the layers of my onion, my internal onion, to get back to the core, and then start rebuilding that self-worth from the off, really. And it's like, well, what is that? And there's various things you can do. And I think it's certainly something I know that we've talked about before, is I had to ask my wife who I was, who she loved, who is the man that she loved, because I couldn't answer that question myself. As when I asked myself, who am I? That's a big question. She had a better idea of who I was at that time, because I was lost. That was a good place to start from, to give me a good foundation as to what it was about me. Certainly because I was grieving that loss of genetics and not being able to provide that, and having to deconstruct that as well is such a big thing of letting go of that huge notion of what makes a father, and actually readdressing that doesn't. But when it comes to the self-worth pieces, it's often like, I think what rocks it is this sense of not being capable, because you've lost that ability to procreate, which we take for granted, take as a given because of, again, society and sex ed, etc. And so you can rebuild these things. Like it's about, first and foremost, keeping promises to yourself, I think, before you're even talking about anyone else. Like it's starting to re-believe in you, and that starts from the most basic of things, really. If you say you're going to do something, do it. Start by building, like exercise that we covered in the last episode, for example, is a great example of something. If you say you're going to do it and sticking to it, and you're validating your promises to yourself, and so then that can bleed into other aspects, like mentally as well. And for example, like doing hard things, create challenges for yourself, and that creates pride and a discipline and a resilience. Because there's a quote, someone says, I can't remember who it is, but motivation is what gets you started, but discipline is what keeps you going. And discipline, I think, is a huge driver between self-worth, and it's because you're checking off those wins all the time, and it's that self-worth, self-validation that you are a man of discipline and integrity. And that's what I think a big part of being a bloke is. I know that is a very big discussion point in the moment, but it's that's what I started doing, was like things like cold showers every day. And I know this might sound a bit weird. It's like, well, how is that, or exercise, or doing something every day and chalking it off and keeping those promises, how is that going to increase my self-worth? But it does, and I can only speak from my own personal experience. But by starting to do things that really suck, and like cold showers first thing in the morning, and then up, and I know we covered this a lot in the first series, my love for it, but it really was helping, because I said to myself, you're going to do this, and I'd always have that internal conversation saying, no, you don't need to do it today. And then I'll get in my own head and say, well, you've kind of got in your head now you're going to have to do it, to shut that other voice up. And that's what it is, that attack on the self-worth, on the identity, is a voice questioning you and who you thought you were, going, well, what, and it's the second voice, that second voice. And I'm sure we talked about this as well, the inner Goggins, I think we described it as. That
Yeah.
Goggins is the one that goes, no, fucking do it anyway. And then
Yeah.
when you do something, you have that accomplishment, that dopamine hit, you go, fuck yeah, I feel good after doing that. And you've just validated something. You've validated yourself, and you've created that self-worth like that, just in that. And this all compounds and stacks over time. And what's important to do is to note these wins. It doesn't necessarily mean writing it down, but just make a mental note of it and just think, I've just done something that's made myself, even if it's like 0.1% better today. Well, guess what? That 0.1% every day over a year is you become 36% better as a person, as a man. And that's self-worth. That's by continuous improvement, slow improvements, but compounded over time, is the new you, the better version of you. Like, no one would ask to have fertility problems, especially not azoospermia. But what are you going to do about it? You're going to ruminate and dwell? Well, I can tell this guy that's wrote this in, I can tell you're not, because you've already written in and asked. You've taken it upon yourself to write to us and say, what can I do about this? That's a massive first step. So you show that you are an action taker, and that is what will move you forward.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think everything you said there is spot on the money. Something that I have, obviously, you and me, we absorb a lot of content these days, whether it's on social media, podcasts, the blogs, everything. We kind of absorb as much as we can, and we listen to other guys that are achieving good things out there. And there's that familiar that theme of we're in more control of what's going on around us than we perceive ourselves to be. And if you can acknowledge that, in terms of, you talked about building that self-worth, there are things that you can do daily. And like, I'm listening to you there, and I was like, yeah, I did that. Like, I got to the point where I knew I had to make a change. Otherwise, I didn't know what the outcome was going to be, but no one was going to come in and save me on a white horse. Do you know what I mean? It just wasn't going to happen. So I thought about what I needed to do first, and I started with those small steps, because it can feel so daunting. Like, you generally feel like you are in a hole that you just can't even see the light of. Which direction do I go? It's pitch dark. I don't know what to do, like, to make anything better. But making a decision, having action in any shape or form, is so powerful, that first step. But it is the most challenging step.
Yeah.
Um,
But like I said, I would argue that I know this is going to be like out there, and anyone can take hopefully some actionable advice from this. But the guy who wrote this in, he's already taken a massive first step in reaching out, and I honestly, I'm so proud of him to have done that, because it shows that want and will and desire to make a change and to start making that progression, which, like you're saying, like, I love that analogy of like being in the dark and you're feeling around for a door or a light switch or whatever to shed a bit of light. He's doing that, and
yeah,
that's crucial.
it's that action. You have to take action. And even, for this guy, the action has been, the first step has been sending in this message.
Yeah,
And I just hope that he's listening and he gets to hear what we've got to say. And also, if he wants to reach out personally, we're here. That's what we're here for. Not everyone's ready to jump straight into a massive community at the points, but individually, if you need something, like, both me and Shaun are here.
yeah. Well, there's the Nexus Fertility community. Our WhatsApp chat is always there, and the monthly online support groups we hold. You can come. Don't turn your camera on. Don't have to speak. But I think, like, self-worth is rebuilt. It's not something that you can think your way to, because you do get stuck in your head. And I was there, honestly. I'm saying this as someone who lived it, and for probably, so it's going to be 2 to 3 years, I'd say. I lived in my head. I wasn't talking. I wasn't doing anything. I was trying to think my way out of it. It was impossible because I was not making sense of what's in my head. Now, I reckon 18 months to 2 years is when I started journaling. And when I say it's not like getting some Dear Diary thing and writing down reams and reams. I was just had an app and was writing down every day. So firstly, I was writing down 3 things that I was grateful for every day. Because what I realised, that what I was doing that was also, and this was like what I've been doing my whole life, and the reason why then the diagnosis took such a big hit, because let's not forget it's life-changing, of course it is, but also my immediate thing that I was doing was I was looking externally and comparing myself to others and what they had. And of course, as the saying goes, people online are only showing you their highlight reels, not what's behind the scenes. But I was doing that with what I knew of friends and other family members. I was looking externally, and you're not going to get that internal change and validation by doing that. And you're not going to get it by just staying in your head. You start making action. So I started every day writing down 3 things I was grateful for. And I had a rule that I could never use the same things twice. So that it gets hard quickly. But when you're actually having to think about it, and you're not just thinking about like material items, like, oh, I'm grateful for my house, I'm grateful for my car, I'm grateful for my watch or whatever. Suddenly you're starting to actually have to think about your own situation. What are you grateful for in your own life right now? And every day thinking of something new. And then I would set 3 goals for the day, what I wanted to achieve that day. And then at the end of the evening, and this was all just on my phone, because you have to do what's going to be going to work for you. If you think, right, I'm going to sit down every morning and journal it, okay, if you can, that's great. Honestly, it's good, but it's the important thing here is getting out of your head and getting those words somewhere else so that you can see them back at you to make sense of it. And also by writing stuff down, often it does increase the chance of you actually doing it. And then at the end of the day, I would reflect: did I achieve what I set out to this morning? If not, why not? It's fine. It's not about, like, sometimes life happens and you don't, but was it in my control? If it was, why I didn't achieve what I set out to do, how can I make that change and make that better tomorrow? And just being reflective in your actions. And I think often, like I said, that a lot of this can come from that comparison angle of looking elsewhere. Well, audit who you're spending time with. Are they not really bringing you, are they making you more unhappy by being around some people? And I did this. I realized that a lot of the people that I was kind of socializing with was more just from shared history. It felt like I should be seeing them because I'd known them for so many years, whereas actually they didn't bring me any joy. So I started changing my environment, and, like, of course it wasn't at this time, there were still no blokes going through fertility that I had that community for, but just by being around more positive people, more people that are open-minded. But, like, thankfully now, like I said, we can provide that community of guys who do get it, and that's what is apparent in the Nexus community every day, is that there are guys that will help you with this kind of thing and what helps them get through it. And yeah, it's the action. I think that's, if I could title this podcast the kind of heading, a subheading is like self-worth, identity. Like, what do you need to do? In the subheading would be something like take action, because it's those small bits of progression every day. And really, really, honestly, you have to celebrate those wins when you do, to know how far you're progressing and what you do all the time, because you're focusing on this one massive element. And don't get me wrong, like I said, it's life-changing, that has been stripped away. But what else is, like, there that really validates you as a man, as a partner or a husband, and hopefully as a father down the line. And I've really spent a lot of time discussing my thoughts on donor conception, etc. But about the genetics, but it's that who you are as a man is what the crux of this conversation is.
Yeah, I think, like I said it earlier, mate, everything you've just said is great reflection. It's self-reflection, isn't it? Like, you've learnt this. If we went back, Shaun 2018, and he had a conversation with Shaun now, it would be, you can never do it, but the vast difference. It's the same with Ciaran, isn't it? Like,
I can tell you now, Shaun 2018, as I was getting diagnosed, so let's say Shaun 2017, diagnosis came in 2018. Shaun 2017 was well gimpy, compared to now, Shaun 2.0, and that's because of what I went through. I thought I was a bloke. I thought I had it all figured out, and then that rocked my world in a bad way. Obviously, it almost sounds like a weird song lyric, probably a Michael Jackson one, I think, actually. But it changed everything about me, and I had to go to those depths. Like I said, I had to peel back those layers of the onion to figure out who I was at the core, and then start rebuilding. And that rebuilding is like building on layers of armor and becoming a stronger version.
This is like a big, deep topic, but in terms of a brief answer, mate, I think that you've given a fantastic answer there. And I hope that the guy listening to this, he's already caused action. He's already moving in the right direction.
I am just Googling something. I've got it now. So
right.
When I was in my lowest depths of going through this absolute shit, I heard a song one day, and it's a song, and everyone will know this song. It's a very popular one. It'll be, sometimes you hear songs, you hear the song that's on, you hear the lyrics, but you're not really listening to them. You might even know the lyrics so well that you can sing them, but you're not taking it in. And I think when I actually heard this, like, properly listen to the lyrics on this song, they struck a chord with me. And guess what? It's since become one of my favorite songs, because it became it validated me as a man. So I'll read. The song is "Lucky Man" by the Verve. So, like I said, the song, but these two verses: happiness, something in my own place. I'm stood here naked. I smile and I feel no disgrace with who I am. But how many corners do I have to turn? How many times do I have to learn? All the love I have is in my mind. So that, for me, is about self-love, self-worth, identity, and the fact that it starts and finishes with us. And you'll notice I didn't sing it because no one wants to experience that. I've very purposely talked it, but that has become, ever since then, like kind of my I don't know, how do I describe it, but I listen to it all the time because it grounds me, to remind me that it all starts and finishes with me, and I'm the one who is responsible for maintaining that sense of self.
That's amazing, mate. I think that's the perfect place to finish as well, in some ways. So, thank you for your answer, buddy. And until the next time, if you want to obviously reach out to us, there is the Nexus Fertility and Male Fertility podcast on Instagram. And then if you want to email, you can send us an email to the Male Fertility Podcast at gmail.com. But that is the perfect place and way to end it, mate. So thanks so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for your question to that fella, and keep them coming in. We really enjoy this, and because it just gives us that connection with you, and that's what we're all about. So thank you.